Hi, my name is Nick Caruso. Today I'll be giving you a demonstration of NSI AutoStore's value proposition around automating the processes in a branch, a financial branch. So today, what we see in a lot of banking scenarios at the branch is there's a lot of still paperwork that's being handled at the branch. It could be a new account opening process, it could be a loan closing or a loan origination, lots of different paperwork being collected at the branch, even inter-office mail, a lot of paperwork associated with that. So in this scenario I'm going to be showing you today, we're looking at a loan closing scenario. It could be a new account opening. And what that generally means is that when a customer comes into a branch and has some paperwork associated to some sort of transaction, the branch person has to get that content to a service center. And that content at the service center is usually processed through some sort of content management system and then uploaded into a line of business system. Well, as that paperwork makes its way to the service center, the first thing that the branch banker usually does is before they send it off into a courier, they make a copy of it. So they make a copy just to make sure that in case any of that paperwork is lost or they need a quick access while the paperwork is in process, they can review those documents. The second thing they do is they then ship those documents to a courier, and we've seen banks or branches that do courier runs sometimes twice a day, sometimes once a day. And then from that service center, that content is then scanned through a batch scanning system. We've seen certainly Kofax, EMC's Captiva Input Excel, FileNet Capture, DataCap, lots of different ways to scan that content. And then there's usually people who are indexing those documents as they've been scanned, maybe leveraging technologies to automate that process, but still a very manual touch point. And then the content's being uploaded into IBM FileNet, IBM Content Manager, Documentum, other content management systems, and line of business systems. When there are exceptions to this workflow, documents are often faxed from the local office to the service center. And it could not be exceptions, it could just be a trailing document, or it could be some sort of a pending document. But when I look at this workflow, I see a lot of different touch points, and each touch point I see an error. And I've in the 15 years I've been working in the financial industry, I've seen documents being filed incorrectly, documents being faxed to the wrong destination, fax documents being sitting at the other location, being picked up by the wrong person, documents that are lost in the shipment, documents that when they're scanned, sometimes there are misfeeds when they're being scanned. The people who are indexing and validating those documents are not usually the original branch banker, so they've made mistakes from time to time. Each touch point may have a very, very small margin of error. You could be talking about maybe 99.9% accuracy. But a 99.9% accuracy results meaning at 1 out of 1,000 documents there will be a touch point error. And so the fewer the touch points, the more streamlined and the more accurate a business process will be. If you recall, the very start of that business process was the branch employee, the branch banker, making a copy. Can we leverage that same multifunction device to put a simple button on that multifunction device to get the content immediately to where it needs to go? Can we get that content directly into a workflow? We could feed an existing Kofax or DataCap workflow or directly into a content management system like FileNet. And can we automate the process of notifications in case there are any exceptions or confirmations that we can get back to that branch banker? The goal is to cut down a very time-consuming and error-prone process and streamline that workflow. So the goal of the NSI technologies is to turn a multifunction device into the same utility as banks are getting out of their ATM machines today. So what can you do on an ATM today? You can log in with a PIN code. You can hit a fast cash button like $100, and you can even have bidirectional communication between that ATM, that kiosk, and the banking system, such as getting an account balance. With the NSI technology, we can do the exact same thing from a multifunction device. We can log in with a PIN code or card authentication, even biometric capabilities for identifying who the user is. We can scan to a loan processing workflow or other different workflows, and we can review any sort of exceptions almost instantaneously at the multifunction device, or provide notification back to the branch banker through either email or through their line of business application. In the years I've been doing this, I found 3 key areas to make sure a project like this is successful. And these 3 key areas are things that I just want to make sure that you understand we take very seriously here at NSI. The first thing is that that whole entire workflow at the multifunction device, the user experience has to be very easy to use. It's got to be very secure. And we appreciate that the IT organization and the security officers within the banks want to ensure that the end-to-end entire process is very, very secure. And lastly, that the entire system is reliable and scalable. So I'm just going to touch upon these points very quickly. Easy to use. I have this concept of what I call the 10-second rule. The goal is to try and make the user experience possible within 10 seconds. We know that branch bankers want to maximize their amount of face time with that client coming in. They don't want to be messing around with technology. They don't want to be away from their desk. They want to maximize that user experience. The technology we've been deployed through thousands of devices across thousands of branches. When you're doing that, you're touching tens of thousands of employees. So this technology has to be almost completely native to the user as far as intuitive as to how to use the technology. So it must require minimum user training. So when I say easy to use, I'm talking about a very simple user experience at the multifunction device. Perhaps just a simple button called eCourier, and I'll be giving you a more detailed demonstration here in a few minutes. Secure. The transmission from the multifunction device into a content management system, line of business system, or other workflow is completely secure from the multifunction device through the entire system. So we can leverage 128-bit, 256-bit SHA-2 encryption. I can give you a whole presentation just on that concept. But one area that I think a lot of organizations fail to understand is that they focus on the digital security or the network security. But the most error-prone part of a workflow where mistakes are going to happen are the places in the workflow where you're going to have security violations. You're going to have documents that are sent to the wrong destinations, faxes going to the wrong locations. So the goal of the technology is to make it very easy to use, so that mistakes aren't being made. And that's a key area. So I call this secure transmission and then secure access to the device, as well as making it a very native user experience. And lastly, reliable. I think it's really important to share with you that the technology that we're talking about today is deployed on hundreds of thousands of multifunction devices. We're automating workflows every minute of every day across the globe. We can scale anywhere from a deployment of 10 devices to thousands of devices. We support certainly load balancing and high availability and so forth. All right, so I'm going to go right into a demonstration of how this technology is being used.